everybody, nice to have you back here at my storytelling channel. Today we have another interesting adventure story for you. It's called At Our Camp. Dad is fearfully keen on fishing, angling, I mean. He'd go almost anywhere on the chance of catching trout, and I'm just like him. Well, that explains our Easter camp, though you'll hear that it didn't last quite over the halls. Dad got permission to fish a topping river in Scotland, a rushing stream with nice pools and shallows, and I thought it would be rather fine to take our tent and camp out. Dad wasn't so sure. He doesn't much like messing about with cooking, but I promised to do all that, or at least most of it, so he agreed. Easter is late this year, and the Ninth Valley is sheltered at Otterhorn, so we should be all right. But you do the washing up, Jimmy. I said I would. We took an express to Dumfries and then a local train to Sandals, which is the village where Dad's friend lives. He stays about 4 miles from it, but he wasn't at home then. The journey lasted 9 hours from London, and then he had to do a bit in a bus. After that, we had to walk more than a mile to the site Dad had in mind. Of course, I'd never been in Scotland, so my opinion wasn't asked. It was a gorgeous place in a meadow. We chose a raised bank overlooking a little hill stream. The Nith ran just by the road, a side road it is, on the other side of a low stone wall from our meadow. Dad helped me with the tent, and then he said, "It's too late for serious fishing, but I'll go and throw a fly just on chance. Mind you don't burn the tent down." In half an hour he was back, and we had a topping supper, and Dad did the washing up. Fair division, Jimmy. I'll see to breakfast, and you'll be on the water first in the morning. Well, we got everything snug for the night and crawled inside the tent, which is really only a lightweight and not very big, though it sleeps too splendidly. By this time it was dusk, and we left one end of the tent quite open and lay watching the trains rush past on the other side of the valley. You could see the glare from the engines a long way off, and then the trains would come swinging along, looking like great fiery serpents rushing after their prey. And there weren't many trains. Mostly we listened to the noise of the river or the cries of the night birds. Then I fell asleep. Sometime during the night I woke up. Dad was just closing the tent and getting out 2 spare blankets. "It's a lot colder than it was," he said, "and the wind is rising. I fear we are going to have a change of weather. A cup of cocoa won't hurt us." So we made cocoa and I went to sleep again. We both woke before daylight next morning. It was blowing a real gale, and the tent was flapping about and making a fearful din. Dad wondered if the poles would stand up to it. "Jolly good thing we haven't had rain to think of," I said. Said Dad. When it was light, we crawled out to wash and kindle a fire. It was useless to think of the premise, of course. That's a stove. No use here. I heard him say. You stay where you are, and I'll go off to find some corner where we shan't be frozen. I'll give you a call when breakfast is ready. You see, it was blowing a hard gale from the north, and the wind was simply icy. At last I heard Dad call out to me to come and have breakfast. He'd found a little cutting in the river bank, and breakfast was ready. We sat each with a blanket around his shoulders and ate fried sausages and drank hot tea. It was really all right though. The smoke from the fire got into my eyes and the wind kept blowing off my blanket. By the time Dad had decided to break camp, no one could fish in such a weather. He didn't fancy another such night in the tent. I didn't either. Then the weather settled the matter. It began to snow. Look here, Jimmy, said Dad. There's a farmhouse on the hillside about a mile down the road. You cut off there, engage rooms, and get them to send a cart for the baggage. Off you go. I was rather cold, so I didn't mind the idea of cutting off. But I said I'd come back with the cart. Not a bit, said Dad quite sternly. You see, they'll light a fire and stay by it. No nonsense. Little pellets of snow were falling quite thickly by this time, and the wind was roaring across the valley. So I set off gaily. There was only one road, so I couldn't lose myself, but in 10 minutes it was snowing real hard, and I began to wonder if I could see the farmhouse or walk right past it. Great clouds of snow swept past me. The camp had vanished, and it wasn't easy to see anything 50 yards off. When the blizzard started, Dad tried to recall me, but of course that was hopeless. But in any case, there was no real danger, though if I missed the farm, I should have quite a bit to go before reaching a house. Very soon I came to a gate, a wide one with 5 bars. There was a winding path from it up the hill, but I couldn't see if it led to a house or not. Better go on, I thought, but I'll keep this in mind. The snow was simply blinding now, and I wondered what Dad was thinking. He'd be anxious, I knew, but he had thought it would be better for me to walk and keep warm than stick to the tent while he did the searching. After a while I came to another gate, and this time there was quite a good road going straight up the hill. It looked like a farm road, but I could see no farm. Of course, I hadn't met a soul. No one was out on such a morning, and I wasn't on a main road anyway. I wondered whether I should try this road. Dad must be really frozen by this time, I thought. I must hurry. Then I remembered our fire by the river. No one could freeze there, though. He might be jolly sick of waiting. Before I'd made up my mind what to do, the snow suddenly thinned just for a moment, and I saw a nice, comfy looking farmhouse on the hillside. Hurrah! That's Kindy Farm, I cried. The farmer's wife was simply astonished when she opened the door. It was only 7 in the morning, and she didn't expect to find a schoolboy on her doorstep at that hour, and in a snowstorm too. I must have looked like a lost explorer in need of warmth, for she said at once, "Come in," and there I was in a little parlor before a blazing fire. When I told my story and engaged the rooms, the farmer set off to find Dad. He had a motor car and went off at once. His wife gave me a second breakfast, just to make sure that I was none the worse for my early struggle through the storm. I felt quite a hero, but of course that was tosh, though she wouldn't believe it. It's a mercy you aren't both dead, she insisted. Fancy sleeping in a tent in the night like that. I tried to explain that the tent was all right, but not suitable to live in when it was no use trying to fish. But she said, "Don't tell me. Tempting Providence? That's what it is. You lie down on the sofa and go to sleep till your father comes in." But I didn't go to sleep. I went to the window, being warm and comfortable again, and waited to see the car come up. The road up the hill to Glen Kindy is jolly steep. After a while, the car came panting up through the clouds of snow. Dad had our two rods neatly tied together, and there was only one thing he troubled about. But the tent and the other things were in a fearful jumble. He was just as glad to see the warm parlor as I had been. The farmer told me afterwards that he'd found the camp quite easily. All the stuff was ready to be lifted, and Dad was sitting smoking by the fire. He looked quite a snowman, but he was quite cheerful and was expecting to be rescued any moment. So that is how a sudden snowstorm, really late in the season, put an end to our camp. But it didn't really spoil our holiday. For 2 days the weather kept cold, and then it became warm and sunny, and we had some splendid fishing. We stayed at the farm for a fortnight. It was really a huge success. But Dad drew the line at camping again. All right in June, perhaps, but not at Easter. Now that you've had the fun of camping in a gale and getting nearly lost in a blizzard, you'll be able to settle down in comfortable quarters. I got Dad to promise that we'll bring Mother with us and spend our summer holidays at Glen Kindy. I hope you liked that story, and if you did, remember to hit the like button, share the story with your friends, and remember to subscribe to the channel. So have a good day, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye bye.